This video is supported by patrons like you. If you'd like to become a patron supporter, please go to patreon.com/TJRTheOriginal. Thanks. Hey everybody, this is TJR, and it appears that it's finally over. An appeals court has ruled that Led Zeppelin did not steal the opening riff from Stairway to Heaven from the band Spirit. I'm going to take a moment to read a recent story. This is by writer Gwen Avias from the NBC News website, and then I'm going to give my own thoughts on this. But I've chosen this particular story because I feel that it was the most comprehensive that I found in its coverage of it. Now, let me just read this here. Led Zeppelin prevailed in a long-running copyright dispute after the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld a jury verdict saying that the rock band's 1971 mega hit Stairway to Heaven did not illegally borrow from Spirit's 1968 track Taurus. The trial and appeal process has been a long climb up the Stairway to Heaven, read the judge's opinion, a little pun there from the judge, which was filed Monday and affirmed that Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven did not infringe Spirit's Taurus. The copyright battle dates back to 2014 when the estate of Spirit guitarist Randy Wolf sued Led Zeppelin, alleging copyright infringement. Wolf, whose stage name was Randy California, died in 1997. And I'm really glad that this particular writer for NBC News mentioned that it's the estate of Randy California and that he passed on some decades back. After I made my initial Led Zeppelin versus Spirit video that went viral, I just couldn't believe the amount of comments from people who didn't take just a few minutes to do a little research before they opened their mouths and started accusing the band Spirit and Randy Wolf of being greedy, quote-unquote, bastards for suing Led Zeppelin. The band Spirit and the guitarist-songwriter Randy Wolf have nothing to do with this lawsuit, and I'll circle back to that in a moment. Let's get back to the article. A jury ruled against the estate 2 years later, after which lawyers for the estate sought a new trial. In 2018, a three-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit Court ruled in favor of the estate. In response, Led Zeppelin's attorney sought a rehearing before the full Ninth Circuit, which heard the case last September. The court's decision may establish new standards in the music industry, which, coinciding with the rise of streaming platforms, has been plagued by a flurry of copyright lawsuits in recent years. In establishing its ruling, the court overturned the inverse ratio rule, which stated that the more access an alleged infringer has to a plaintiff's work, the less similarity between the works was needed to establish infringement. Now, this next portion of the article is opinion, and I'm not 100% sure if this is the judge's opinion or the writer's opinion. But regardless, it brings up an interesting point that I want to talk about. Let me read the following. The flaws in the rule can be seen in the inconsistent ways in which we have applied the rule within our circuit, reads the opinion. Nothing in copyright law suggests that a work deserves stronger legal protection simply because it is more popular or owned by better-funded rights holders. The judges also added that they would not extend copyright protection to just a few notes, proclaiming that a four-note sequence common in the music field is not the copyrightable expression in a song. I should mention that the two segments of both the song Taurus and the song Stairway to Heaven are much longer than four notes. The ruling marks a direct contrast to the Ninth Circuit Court 2015 verdict that concluded Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams' 2013 song Blurred Lines infringed on Marvin Gaye's 1977 hit Got to Give It Up. And of course, if you follow this channel, you know that I believe that the decision by the courts in the Marvin Gaye Blurred Lines lawsuit was a travesty. I feel equally about the recent Katy Perry trial against the song Dark Horse from Christian rapper Flame. Once again, I'm quoting from an article written by Gwen Avias, who is listed here as a trending news and culture reporter for NBC News. So now I just want to give my own thoughts on all of this. I'll start by saying that overall, I am happy with the judge's decision. Which is not to say that I think that Jimmy Page is completely innocent. And quite frankly, if there's any musician out there that I would shed no tears for if he lost this type of a lawsuit, it would be Jimmy Page. And please note that I am stressing Jimmy Page and not Led Zeppelin. I will always faithfully believe that Jimmy Page is an amazing musician, an amazing composer. He doesn't need to steal anything, and yet he did in his early years, and he did so blatantly. I have discussed some of these specifics in other videos, so I'm not going to get into it here, but there have been plenty of examples where he wholesale lifted riffs, melody lines, and or lyrics from other music artists. So I don't feel a whole lot of sympathy for him if he becomes the target of a copyright lawsuit. But my feelings aside, I honestly do believe that Jimmy Page was definitely inspired by the song Taurus by Spirit. Many people point to the fact that both bands toured together and shared the same bill together, and it should also be noted that Led Zeppelin did cover a Spirit song during one of their live shows. So Jimmy Page was definitely aware of the band's existence, but also it should be noted that he had a copy of the actual album that contained the song Taurus in his record collection. This particular fact did come up during the trial, and from what I read, Page's response was, "Yes, I had the record, but I never listened to it," which to me was the same as when Bill Clinton said, "Yes, I smoked, but I never inhaled." But all this aside, is Jimmy Page really guilty of copyright infringement, regardless of what a judge says? And to be honest, I think there is still a real argument that can be made in favor of the estate of Randy Wolf. So why am I mostly happy with the judge's decision in regards to this? Well, in light of the recent lawsuits that I mentioned earlier, the Marvin Gaye versus Pharrell and Robin Thicke, and the Katy Perry versus Flame lawsuits, which were travesties of justice and which put a tremendous chilling effect on both the art and the profession of songwriting, I'm afraid I'm going to have to side with whatever promotes the greater good for songwriters and for songwriting in general. Had the jury back in 2018 sided with the estate of Randy Wolf versus Led Zeppelin, which, by the way, I think could have happened had they been allowed to use the original recordings in the trial, and that's a whole nother story, I don't think it would have set as bad a precedence as a lot of the commenters on my initial video claimed it would have, because I think that the case still has some merit to it. I've always have thought so. And whenever anybody mentioned that to me, I always said, no, it's the blurred lines case that you need to be worried about. Well, the Marvin Gaye estate won that case, and it set a really horrible precedence. It basically said that you can copyright a groove. And this was followed by the Katy Perry lawsuit, which basically said that Christian rapper Flame can copyright individual notes, even if the notes in his song and the song he is alleging infringed on his copyright aren't the same. And as I said before, these two lawsuits have put a real chilling effect on the profession and the art of songwriting, so much so that we cannot sustain another loss like this. And that is why I've said ever since Katy Perry lost to Christian rapper Flame that the estate of Randy Wolf cannot win this case, because we've got more cases to follow. And such a bad precedence was set with those two lawsuits that we need to reset that precedence in the other direction. And based on what I've read here from the judge's comments, it appears to me that hopefully this particular judge realized this and ruled in favor of Led Zeppelin for this reason. Because we still have some other frivolous music copyright lawsuits waiting in the wings that are going to be decided. And the ruling made in this case today could have a tremendous impact on how future music copyright lawsuits are judged. I want to close this video by stating that in interviews before his death, guitarist Randy Wolf did state that he really did feel that Jimmy Page did in fact borrow the opening to Stairway to Heaven from his song Taurus, but that he never filed a lawsuit because all musicians draw inspiration and borrow from one another. Quiet Riot had no trouble admitting to the fact that they were inspired to write Come On Feel the Noise after hearing Slade's Mama We're All Crazy Now. Queen bassist John Deacon had no trouble admitting to the fact that Another One Bites the Dust was inspired by the song Good Times by Chic. And before his death, Randy Wolf stated in interviews that all he really wanted from Jimmy Page was just for him to acknowledge the influence. acknowledge the influence of his band and his song. This is TJR, and those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Please leave a comment. As always, if you like what I'm doing, be sure to click like, click subscribe, and smash the bell notification icon so you can know when I release new videos. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.